Hopefully everyone's having a good day. It's, pre-AEP for us in the senior market. I don't know how many people here are in senior market already, but that's our forte. Our plans do go to the ACA market. They go down to age 18, but our core focus is pretty much senior market for most of our products. But again, you can go underage if you so choose, if you're in that ACA realm. No. And we'll talk about the products today, but we'll also talk about how to offer them, some marketing tips, all that. So we'll share uh, various analogies. And again, always happy to answer questions. If you're new to the industry, if you're new to senior market, or if you've been in a long time, we'll try and do some good stuff for everyone in here. I just a quick while we got a couple minutes, just tell you about myself. I've been in the senior market since '05, so been a hot minute. I started out as an agent in the field. Then I went to the FMO world, and I went to the carrier side. So none of it on purpose. All happened on accident. I don't know what happened. Woke up one day with a different polo on. It was weird. So but we'll be talking about our ancillary products today. We got a great ancillary lineup. Of course, I'm paid to say that, but it is a good lineup, and we've made some great adjustments to our plan. So if you looked at Liberty Bankers in the past, and within the past week, we've actually made some more adjustments to our plan. So we're constantly evolving, taking feedback from the field. One nice thing about the size of Liberty Bankers, we're a small company, so we can pivot quickly if there's a change or a need, and we also have some pretty white glove support, as we call it, because if you have an issue with something, you just email me and I get send it right to the home office and it gets tackled pretty quickly, rather than go to several layers of agent support or customer service, which is nice. Not that we have that many problems, but it's nice to have that little extra level of care. So, but again, for those of you who just logged in, welcome. Thank you for joining. My name is Mike at Liberty Bankers. I'll be your tour guide today. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, threats, or promises, you have the webinar chat open and available. I'm going to put a link in there real quick. I'll do that now while I'm thinking about it. We've got, if you want to kick the tires on our product, we actually have a landing page that you can go to, which is now in the webinar chat area. There's no login required. You can download our forms, our agent guide, a booklet, or a guide I'm going to talk about here shortly that will help you sell more hospital indemnity. But all that's on that page. Again, you don't have to log in or be contracted to see it. So it's kind of a preview portal, if you would, with agent guides in there, brochure, the highlight sheet, which needs some correction, but I'll go over that here in a few minutes. So, and I can start, Noel, whenever you're ready. You just say, hey, Mike, fire away, and I'll start yakking some more, and I already have.
Mike, you're all good to go. I'm here if you need any help. Just let me know.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, as I said, for those of you who were here for a minute, or those of you new, welcome. My name is Mike. I'm your tour guide today with Liberty Bankers. Thank you for having me on the call today. We're going to talk about ancillary products today. Again, the heavy focus on senior market. We do have a lot of agents that offer this at the ACA world, but I've been in senior market for the past 20 plus years. My gray is natural, so we're going to focus on that. But if you have any questions about underage or anything, please let me know in the webinar chat. Real quick, who is Liberty Bankers? Here we is. We basically have 4 product lines. We have annuities, final expense, Medicare supplement, and supplemental health, or ancillary. I'm over the ancillary division, so we're going to focus on the ancillary products, mostly our hospital indemnity and cancer plans. But if you have questions about other product lines, you could give us a call. You could talk to your upline through the alliance, and I know they're all well versed in our products and such. So definitely check that out. But hospital indemnity there's been a huge uptick in hospital indemnity in the past couple of years, and I'll show you why we should be consideration, hopefully. All our plans, these are our 5 ancillary products: accident, cancer, critical care, heart and stroke, and hospital indemnity. They all come with travel companion, pet boarding, a household discount is available. Some have return of premium option. And now they're all 18 to 85, except For accident, that goes to 75. So 1885, except for cancer, at age 75. But let's jump into meat of things. Let's talk about household indemnity. I'm gonna drop some tidbits in here and there that didn't make the slides, but I'll tell you the easiest way to cross sell in the senior market, in my opinion, and this was taught to me by somebody else, is to simply do this. When you had group insurance, what did that look like? Because the harsh reality is a lot of people that you're going to talk to that are either new to Medicare or been on Medicare for a while have never bought health insurance before Medicare. You might be thinking, but Mike, they came here with or they came here with insurance. What do you mean they don't have Medicare? They never bought insurance before Medicare. Well, think about it. When you work for a group or an organization or you have an employer, they hand you benefits, right? You typically get an email from HR. HR says, click this link, pick what you want, hit submit, and you're enrolled. So they pick their PPO plan or HSA if they have that option, and then all the ancillary products, accident, dental, vision, short-term disability, long-term disability, extra life insurance, maybe a cancer plan in there, etc. And then hit submit and they're done. They don't have to go shopping. They don't have to ask what's available. They just have to look at the menu and say, I want this, this, and this. There's no one guiding them, right? They don't have an insurance agent sitting on their side going, well, this does this, and based on your concerns, that would be a good option. Or this does that. They're just reading the quick description going, is it worth that much coming on my paycheck? Yes or no. So when they get to Medicare, they don't have that. There's no HR. There's no one from the company saying you should get this. That's your job. And so it's important for your clients to know what you have available, but to know what's important to them, you could say, hey, what did you have when you were working? Oh, I had dental insurance, I had an accident plan, and I had cancer insurance. Do you want to replicate any of those in retirement? Well, yeah, I'm worried about cancer. I still want to chew my food. And, the accident plan, worry about hospital bills. Well, they just told you they want a cancer policy, at least look at one. They're interested in dental, and they're worried about hospital bills, hospital indemnity. So right there, your clients will tell you what's important. Because if they've had an accident plan for 20 plus years, there's a chance they know that they're probably going to use it, the older they get, because we become more frail, we're no longer spry. If your kids fall down, they get up and keep running. I fall down and I'm on the ground for a few minutes. Like, oh my gosh, I don't bounce anymore, at least not on purpose. So our household indemnity plan, or actually our ancillary products, are available here. So if you're in a blue state, you have all the ancillary products available, which is, again, household indemnity, cancer, heart, stroke, critical care, and accident. If you're in a green state, like myself, I live in Columbia, Missouri. If you're like, I don't know where that is, neither is anybody else. It's right in the middle of Missouri, but we only have household indemnity, and all the other products are pending approval from the state. If you live in a gray state, I'm so sorry, you should move, because we don't have anything there. We have no pending states right now. So again, blue states, everything. Green states, you have household indemnity only. Now, let's talk about the meat of this thing. Issue ages 18 to 85 for household indemnity, 64 to 70, no health questions. Now, before anyone says anything, I know a lot of our competition goes past 70, right? They're at 75, maybe 79. They're a little later in the 70s. But here's why we stopped at 70. So I'm going to give you a quick analogy. Let's say you're driving home tomorrow, right? You're driving home and your significant other calls you and says, hey, I don't want to cook tonight. Let's just have a chill night, pick up some food. We'll watch Wheel of Fortune and just chill on the couch. And you're like, you know what? That sounds amazing. I'll do that. So you hang up the phone. Of course, your hands free because you're responsible. You look up and there's an Arby's. And Arby's has a sign out that says, hey, we've got $6 beef sandwiches, right? Come on in, grab a sandwich. You can go home. Like, they have a drive-through. It'll be quick, be easy, be inexpensive. I'll just do that. But before you turn your car in there, you look across the street and there's Ruth Chris Steakhouse, right? Delicious steaks. And they have a sign up that says, today only, $5 fillets. Are you going to buy an Arby's sandwich for $6 or or a Ruth Chris fillet for $5? You're buying the $5 fillet, right? It's less expensive and a much better meal. Because when you come home with Arby's, right, you put that bag down on the table. You're like, I'm going to go put some comfy clothes on. We'll chill and watch TV. You come back out, watch TV. It's a nice evening. You put a bag of Ruth Chris down. You go back, put on your comfy clothes. You come back out. The lights are turned down low. There's a candle lit. Barry White's playing. You're getting dessert because that's a romantic meal, right? That is the goods. Same thing here. We offer the most baseline benefits for on average 30% less than our competition. So we go up to 70 because we offer more benefits, which I'll show you here in a minute. But again, we have our coverage types. We have individual or individual spouse. So if you have a spousal couple, you could do both in one application. They both get the same benefits. Or if you're underage and they want to insure their kids up to age 26, we have family plans available as well. So if you're doing the ACA market, 10% household discount to live with someone over age 50. And we do credit card offering. Now, I'm going to walk through how to quote real quick. It's very, very simple, but know this. If you're writing an application with us and they want to pay with a credit or debit card, as long as it's plastic, we consider it credit. You need to say credit card first because it changes the premium by about 3% because they're paying the processing fees. If they do a monthly EFT, it's just, there's no extra charge for that. So just keep that in mind. All right. So here's our baseline benefits. If they get no riders at all, this is what they get. Daily benefits from 100 to 750 and $25 increments, right? And they can pick how many days. Observation, 10 days, 100%, which is important because if you're not familiar with observation, do a quick once over. Hospitals under Medicare, if someone's readmitted to the hospital within 30 days or within a certain parameter, the hospital doesn't get paid again, right? So like, hey, Medicare is like, you messed up. They're back in the hospital. You didn't do your job properly. We're not going to pay you again. So what hospitals do to avoid that, if someone's questionable, like we're not sure what's going on, we don't want to roll the dice, we're going to observe you, and they can do that for up to 3 days. Okay? I believe that's the thing, is up to 3 days. So they could put them on observation, discharge them. If they come back, then they could rebill Medicare for that. So we cover that up to 10 days. And nobody knows if they're under observation or an inpatient, right? You ask anyone in the hospital, are you under observation? Yeah, everyone's watching me, right? They don't know. So it's good they have coverage either way. We have an intensive care benefit. It's 7 days at 150, up to 7 days a year. So if they go to ICU, they get an extra 150 on top of their daily benefit. We have extended care. If they go past their allowance, so if they have a 5-day benefit and they go to day 7 in the hospital, we'll give them $25 beyond the 5 days. So an extra $50 in that example. Is it a lot of money? No. Is it better than zero? Absolutely. Mental health, travel companion. Now, travel companions become a big thing in the Medicare or just in our industry as a whole, because if you've been watching the news, a lot of rural hospitals have been closing. So to give you an example, I live in Columbia, Missouri. We're right in the middle of Kansas City and St. Louis. So when I go to Kansas City to see friends and family and such, there's a hospital halfway there in Sweet Springs, Missouri, which I know, like, wow, that sounds like the Vegas, the Midwest. It's not. It's a tiny town. That's why the hospital closed, because it couldn't sustain it. But anyone that lives in that area has to come to Columbia or has to go to Kansas City. So they're more likely to use that travel companion benefit. They say, that way they could stay in a hotel and get $100 up to 10 days a year. And the last but not least, pet boarding, right? What's going to happen to Fluffy or Fido should they go to the hospital? When you're planning for a vacation, it's great because you have a month or 2 or 6, and you could map everything out. I got to put my mail on hold. I've got to make sure trash is taken out. I got to set my thermostat. I got to pack. I got to board my pets. But when your client has an accident or an illness and they're rushed to the hospital, there's no planning for Fido or Fluffy. And guess what happens? They're home alone. And that can be very dangerous. So if they could have one of their ungrateful children or a neighbor put them in a boarding thing or boarding facility while they're an inpatient, that's one less stress for your clients, and we'll give them $50 a day up to 10 days a year. Now, that's $50 flat, not $50 per animal. So if you have a crazy cat lady with 19 cats, she doesn't get 19 times 50 a day. That'd be ridiculous. But again, it's just one less stressor for your clients to not worry about their fur baby when they're in the hospital with an accident or injury. So all that's our baseline benefit. That's all baseline. So if they get no riders, that's what they get. Now I'm gonna go over our top 5 riders. We have more, but here are the top 5 we see written. First is ER, right? So ER, 250 per visit or 50 for urgent care. Now, this covers illness or injury. You got to be careful because a lot of our competition, they only cover injury for ER. So if your client has a stomach ache and they want to go to the ER, they got to fall on the stairs first, then go to the ER. With us, they can just go and we're going to cover it. And that's once per quarter. Ambulance, 250 ground, 500 air, twice a year. Outpatient diagnostic services and wellness. This is great for your clients who are ACA because with a Medicare Advantage plan, which a lot of hospital indemnity plans are designed to accompany, ACA has one big deductible. So if they want to go get a lab done or a wellness check or a wellness visit, we'll cover it as you can see on the screen. $25 for wellness 4 times a year, 50 for diagnostic and labs, 200 for advanced diagnostics like an MRI or something like that. That's great for your underage, or if you have a senior client that gets regular MRIs, they can get that covered through the advanced diagnostic and service wellness rider. Outpatient surgery, $250 to $1,000 twice a year. Number one question I get for outpatient surgery is this: do colonoscopies are colonoscopies covered under the outpatient surgery? And the answer is no, because surgery means incision and colonoscopies are a scope. They're already going into an already pre-made hole. Same with, like an endoscopy when they go down your throat with the camera. Those are not covered because there's no incision. So it'd be outpatient surgery, yes. Scopes, no. And that's pretty standard across all hospital indemnity plans. And I'll go back. Someone asked, is it in every state? I'm going to go back real quick. You can see they're the blue states for all the product, green for hospital indemnity only. So there you go. And I see you're in Florida. So there you go. And I can give you copies of that as well. In fact, that link in the chat has a copy of the map in there. So automatic benefit increase. So this is nice if your clients are changing plans or if plans are getting more expensive over the years. We'll give them 5% extra the hospital benefit per year up to 50%. So every year they get 5%. So if they have a $300 per day, $300, 5% of that is $15. So every year they get an extra $15 added on. So again, it can be used with the ACA, can be used with Medicare Advantage, either way. Now, I'm going to cover this in a second when I walk through a live demonstration. But if you're selling it with MA plans, you could do an MA match, or you could do a one size fits most, which we'll come back to here in a minute. But that's our hospital indemnity plan. Okay. Again, I'll cover that. I'll walk through a quote real fast, but just to reiterate, we have the most baseline benefits, with ICU, with pet boarding, with travel companion, with extended care. We have the least expense, some of the least expensive premium when you compare it to other plans. We quote against our top 3 competitors. We're on average 30% less. Our GI is 64 to 70, meaning no health questions for the plan. And one thing about our plan was we used to have a 30-day wait for claim with hospital indemnity. As of 10/1, so as of 9 days ago, that goes down to day 1. So 1 day wait. So they buy the policy today, they can't file a claim tomorrow. After that, they're good to go. Okay. So that was something that a lot of agents were like, I don't like that feature. We heard you, so we went ahead and took it off. There you go. Now, cancer plans. I've always told my clients there's 3 weak points in a Medicare Advantage plan. Hospitalization, because you can get a bill for $1,500 or more. Cancer, because if you've seen Medicare Advantage plans, it's 20% for chemotherapy or radiation. Here's a kicker on that. Every year, these plans reset, as you may know, or if you don't, now you do. So any money you spent up to December 31st goes to zero in January. So if you have a client that is getting chemotherapy and only halfway through their treatments in December, and they have a $3,000 max out of pocket, let's say they just hit it, In January, it resets. Regardless of how much they spent last year, doesn't matter. The MA plans are annual contracts, so they reset every January. So at 3,000 max out of pocket could very easily be six. And one of the biggest holes in the MA plan is a 20% for chemotherapy or radiation. The other one is rehab because you're locked to a network. Can't do anything about that. But we could do something about the hospital copays with hospital indemnity and cancer. So if you live in one of the blue states I showed earlier, you could add a cancer plan to the hospital indemnity. Now, it will trigger underwriting, just so you know. If they add a base benefit or base rider, excuse me, no problem. If they had cancer, heart and stroke, or critical care, it will trigger underwriting. It's basically a 5-year look back on that. So here's our cancer plan real quick. Basically, they get cancer, they get a check. It does have a reoccurrence benefit. After 2 years, 2 to 4 years, they get 25% back, not back to them, but they have that benefit reloads. After 5 to 9 years, it reloads at 50%, and after 10 years, it's 100%. So it pays for internal cancer, basically stage 1 or higher. In most cases, experimental treatment, they get an extra 25%. Skin cancer, they get 1%. And carcinoma in situ, which is basically very localized, almost like a benign situation per se. Again, I'm not a doctor, so don't hold me to that, but it pays 25% of that. So it's not just now, if they do, let's say they have carcinoma in situ situation this year and we pay the claim, so it's $10,000 benefit, they get 25%, so that means they have $7,500 left over. They get cancer next year, we'll give them the remaining amount. So as long as they hadn't gone past their max benefit, any money left in the bucket will pay out for something else. So that's a question I get all the time. So basically very simple. They get cancer, they send us a copy of the diagnosis, we send them a check, they're good to go. The average benefit we see out there is $10,000. Because again, with Medicare Advantage, let's say you have a 3,000 max out of pocket, you don't want to do 5. You could to keep it, that's our lowest. You can do 5,000, but what we want to do is make sure they have extra coverage. So again, if they spend $3,000 one year and only halfway through, next year, let's say they spend another $3,000, you have $1,000 out of pocket. With 10, they still have money in the bank. So I would say about 60% of all the plans we sell are $10,000. Okay. So give you an idea how much cancer costs. This is just something I found interesting. This is a study done 10 years ago, which mind you, cancer treatment's not gone any cheaper, but I've not seen a study like this since. This is from JAMA, which is a Journal of American Medical Association, Oncology, which is, your cancer doctors. They followed, excuse me, get a quick drink. They surveyed or watched about 1,400 Medicare beneficiaries and who, were going through cancer treatment. And this is the average out of pocket they saw. So if they had Medicaid, $2,000, right? Medicare only, $8,000. The average annual out of pocket for someone on Medicare, again, they have VA in there, veterans, HMO, employer, and HMOs are typically less than PPOs. Employer, Medicare, or Medigap, the average out of pocket is $5,000. So, and keep in mind, there's been studies done like 50 to 60% of all cancer costs are non-medical, right? Some drugs that they take for anti-nausea aren't covered by Medicare. So that's 100% out of pocket. Special diets are not covered by Medicare. New clothing, because a lot of times you're on chemotherapy, you have massive weight loss. Well, now your clothes don't fit, gotta buy a new wardrobe. That's not covered. If you want a wig, if you're losing your hair, guess what? That's not covered. So all these costs creep in that no one plans for. Having that extra money from a cancer payout or a cancer benefit payout can really help in many ways. So you're like, well, they only need 5,000, but no one's going to complain about getting too much money from an insurance company. I promise you that. So now, if you have great question, Bridget. What if you have the plan before turning 64 to get cancer diagnosis after 64? That's fine. So there's a 5-year look back. Once you get the policy, you're good to go. Now, if you get the policy and a month later you have a cancer diagnosis, we're going to do some homework, right? It's like, was this a pre-existing condition? Did you lie on your application? Did you slip something past us? But most times it's, hey, you get cancer. It's a new diagnosis. you're good to go. Because one of the questions is, in the past 2 years, have you been advised, and this is standard for all insurance companies for the most part, in the past 2 years, have you been advised of any treatments or medical concerns that you have not had investigated yet? So let's say you go to the doctor and they're like, "Ooh, I think you might have cancer." It's like, we don't want people running out buying cancer plans and then, being realized that they now have cancer. So that's going to break the insurance industry as a whole. As I tell my clients, you can't crash your car on Monday and insure it on Tuesday. It doesn't work like that. But if they're honest and the freak thing happens, they get cancer 6 months later, it's a new diagnosis, it wasn't pre-existing, nothing was there 6 months ago, and all of a sudden it popped up, they're going to get a check. So just know that we have to underwrite and process claims. Most people are good people and are not trying to cheat the system, but the ones that cheat the system hurt us all. So there you go. Now, other products. We have an accident plan, 18 to 75. This is very popular in the ACA world because the base plan has no underwriting, right? You can't underwrite an accident because there's no pre-existing, right? It's like, I fell, it wasn't planned. I just need to get paid out. And that, of course, the payout will vary depending on severity of the accident. I'll show you how to look up those in a second. There's heart and stroke. This obviously covers heart and strokes. You can pay on one or the other. And as you can see, it covers heart attack, stroke, bypass surgery, heart valve replacement, or surgery, angioplasty, stent replacement. Those paid various. Like a full-blown heart attack pays 100%. A stent placement pays 10%. And again, any leftover money in the bucket, they can always access later if they have another incident. Now, here's the thing I'm going to tell you. Heart and stroke, it's heart and stroke. So if they have a heart attack 1 year and they get paid out, let's say $10,000, the benefit of the policy, they have a stroke next year, they've already got their money. You get one bucket of money for all those things. But if you want to give your clients 2 buckets of money, add a cancer policy to that. So what can happen is, and hopefully it doesn't to your clients, they have a heart attack, they get their $10,000. When the cancer plan is a rider, it's a separate bucket of money, because when you go to critical care, it does all the benefits of heart and stroke plus multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, ALS, comas, ESRD, and cancer. So if they get cancer or have a heart attack or ALS, they got one bucket of money to cover everything, and it's an expensive plan. So I've always told agents, unless your client has an exact worry like ALS or multiple sclerosis or something like that, most people are more worried about heart attacks and cancer. So I would say write a heart and stroke plan with a cancer rider, or a cancer plan with a heart and stroke rider. Either way, it's going to be the same because you can mix and match on our system. And they're going to get 2 buckets of money, and it's cheaper than the critical care. So there's your way for your client, take care of your clients a little better with those things. Yes. So great question. The cancer would be added to heart and stroke. Would there be underwriting? Yes. So our heart and stroke, cancer, and critical care plans all have underwriting, but again, when you add it on, it underwrites for everything. So we have 5 underwriting questions basically. They have different parts. I'll show you those here in a second. There you go. So quoting. Is Alzheimer's covered under critical care? No. Alzheimer's isn't covered. Basically, if you have Alzheimer's, you're going to need long-term care insurance. And here's why. Because Alzheimer's is obviously a cognitive disease, meaning it affects the brain and the way we function, but you can be perfectly healthy. And it's a disease that you're diagnosed and that's it. I mean, there's no cure for Alzheimer's, but you can be perfectly healthy. And there's also so many different levels of Alzheimer's that there's you could treat the symptoms, but there's no curing it. So point is, you're going to probably need some home care at that point, or they're going to go to a nursing home, and that's when you're going to trigger a long-term care policy, which are very few and far between nowadays because they're so expensive. But great question. All right, hostile indemnity quoting. This is the one thing I get from a lot of agents. Hey, I live in a market. I've got 9 MA plans. How do I sell hostile indemnity when I have this person has Humana, this person has Devoted, this person has United Healthcare, this person has Essence? I've got all these different policies. It's a pain in the butt. I don't want to write it 16 different ways with every client. It's too much. And I hear you. And so I was an agent in the field for many years. Here's how we did it at the agency I worked at. We did a one size fits most. And this is what it looks like. So I'll give you, this is just an example. You can write yours however you want, and I can get you a copy of this flyer and I'll show you where to find it in the quoting system. So I would do 3 days at 650. Here's what that does. So I got a low amount of days, right, to keep the premium low. But if they go to the hospital for 1 day, they're going to get $650. Now, if they only have a $300 copay, guess what? I give them an extra $350. They could use it for any extra drugs, any extra follow-up visits, whatever. They get extra money. Your client's not going to be like, how dare you give me extra money for extra expenses? Everybody, thank you for the extra money. I really needed it, right? We had ER/urgent care, it's one rider, ambulance, outpatient surgery at 250, and the automatic benefit increase, right? So every year they're going to get $30 more added to this. So year two, run 650 would be 680. And then the next year, another $30, another $30. Now, if they stay in the hospital for 5 days, the average out of pocket that we have found, again, your mileage may vary, but the average out of pocket we see for a client going into the hospital for 5 days is $1,800, right? What's 650 times 3? I'm not good at math, so I'm using my calculator. I love it when, I don't know if anyone's old like me, when the teacher said you'll never have a calculator in your pocket and it's on every phone now. Love it. So that's 1950. So if their average out of pocket's 1800 and you give them 1950, you gave them enough to cover a 5 day stay and a short stay. So you're good to go. And this works with any MA plan. So if they have Devoted, Humana, UHC, Essence, whoever's in your market, guess what? Works with everyone. And you don't have to worry about building a new policy every time. And if they change plans next year, so this year you sell them Humana, next year you sell them Devoted, guess what? You don't have to change the hospital indemnity plan. That just, you write it once and forget about it, and they're good to go. Hey, you know a hospital benefit you have, Myrtle? It works with this one too. So if you go to the hospital, you're still going to have coverage. Great. And because you don't want to rewrite it every year because it'll go up in premium every year. Because every year they get older, they pay a little more. However, if you write it at 65, it locks in that premium, right? So it doesn't go up every year like a med sup. So if she's paying $30 a month, it's going to be $30 a month for life of the policy, unless we have a rate increase for the entire market, which we've never done. So I don't know if any Medicare, or excuse me, any hospital indemnity plans ever had a rate increase. So can we do a rate increase? Yes. Have we ever? No. Is that on the horizon? No. Actually, if we were audited right now, we probably would have to have a rate decrease. So we're in great financial shape for this product. So your clients don't have to worry about paying anything else. But if they, if you write it at 65 now and you write it 2 years later at 67, 68, guess what? They're going to be rewritten, but they're going to pay the 67, 68-year-old rate. So they'll pay a little more out of pocket. So you want to write it once and forget about it and just let it ride. Okay. Now, this is how you quote it. I'm going to show you real quick how to do that. In that link I posted, I'll post it again. It's a constant contact landing page. So there you go. This guide is in there. This is some of the verbiage that we use when I was with an agency that we use in the field to sell hospital indemnity. If it works for you, great. Maybe inspires you to create your own dialogue with your clients, but just to give you some idea on how to present and offer hospital indemnity to your clients and prospects. So is it one thing to be considered that these days they want to go get you discharged sooner? So in that case, 3 days would be good. Yeah, exactly. So, the average hospital stay is not 10 days. It's a very short stay. So it's, we're writing it for, and you could write it for 4, 5, 6 days at 650. It's just going to be more expensive. So this way I'm keeping the premium down. I'm over insuring short stays and I'm still covering long stays is the point of that. So let me pause my screen real quick. I'm going to pull up our agent portal, which let me resume. Let me switch screens here. Dun, 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 dun. There we go. So now you should see our agent portal. Okay. This is what it looks like. You can go to quote and apply. Okay. Run some quotes. Now in here, this is if you want to run a quote and make an app out of it, launch e-app. Training e-app is just sandbox. So you can go in there, run quotes, and just play around. That's where I'm going in because I don't want to actually write an application. So it gives you a drop down: hospital indemnity, accident, cancer, blah, 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 blah. I pick that. I pick my state. I'm going to pick Texas because we're based out of Dallas. Now, here's your coverage class: individual, individual spouse, individual children, family. Household discount, I'll put yes for giggles. Monthly EFT, there's where you pick, or if they're doing credit cards. So doing credit card, pick credit card, or doing monthly EFT there, which is about over 90%, I believe, of our people are just monthly EFT. The client's date of birth, I'll do a 65-year-old, female, non-smoker, or male with nicotine. Just pick whichever one. And the start date. Now, you can go 60 days out, and AEP can go to 1/1. So I'm going to say October 28th, right? Now, this confuses a lot of agents, and rightfully so. Select SS building here. That's Social Security. This doesn't mean we bill Social Security, because remember, we're still monthly EFT up here. What this does is it aligns the premium pool based on when they get the Social Security check. So, like the fourth Wednesday of every month, right? Ask your client when you get your Social Security check. On the fourth Wednesday of every month. You could pick that because it's not always the 22nd. It could be the 23rd, the 21st, 22nd, like this month. So it'll change as the months change, but always pull on the fourth Wednesday. So there you go. Yeah, so household discount, live with someone over age 50. And if you hover over that I, now it does say for the last 12 months, we don't verify that. So if they live with someone over age 50, they get it. The only exception is Ohio. So I don't know if anyone here is from Ohio, but Ohio did not approve a household discount like that. So if I put Ohio in here, guess what happens? It turns into Ohio resident discount. They automatically get 10% off. So it grays it out. I can't change it because the state of Ohio said, hey, you either give it to everybody or nobody. So like, we'll just give it to everybody. So that's Ohio for you. But I'm going back to Texas. There we go. All that's filled out, right? Quick, easy, no problem. I'm going to click next. Here we go. We're going to go next screen. Here's where we build it out. Now, it has to be at least $25, which typically isn't a problem. Remember I said you can do one size fits most? If you come here to popular plan designs and go to silver, that's what we talked about. 3 days at $650, ambulance, ER, outpatient surgery, automatic benefit increase. That's all silver plan. So for $30 a month and a penny, your client could get her hospitalization taken care of, any observation taken care of, any ICU taken care of, any ambulance taken care of, any outpatient taken care of for $30 a month. I mean, you're basically taking out all the big stuff. Now, if you want to add cancer, right? It's right over here, cancer lump sum recurrence. Now, heads up. If you add one of these plans, the heart and stroke, cancer, or critical care as a rider, it only goes up to 30,000. If they want a $60,000 policy, you have to write it as a primary product. But again, moot point. So that $10,000. And one of the cool things is that it shows you the cost of everything to the right. So the hospital indemnity plan base is $1,657. The cancer with lump sum recurrence benefit is $2,478. So, hey, that's too expensive. I could shave $25 off, turn that back to zero, and back down to $30. So there you go. Now, let's say you build your own out. Let's say, you know what? I don't like that one. I'd rather do 4 days at $550 and have a $500 outpatient surgery. That's more like what I want to do. You could save that. You come down here to save my designs, name it whatever you want. And then when you come in here, my save designs, here you go. So you got 3 days at, like mine's 3 days at $750. Everything else is the same. It's $33 a month. But if no, I like the silver one better, go back to silver, $30 a month. And of course, again, you can modify it in here too. If they want a $500 outpatient surgery, $36. Or go back down to $250. So you can still play with it when you build it out, but you could save your own design. So if you're like, hey, I'm gonna do my own thing, go for it. You can call it whatever you want. Like blonde girl is not derogatory. I have a friend named Erin who everyone calls her the blonde girl, so that's her quote. Just so you know. I did it as a joke with her and I forgot to delete it. So she's in on it. She picked it. It's not me, I promise. But there you go. Nice and simple. But that's the big thing is, hey, come over to Popular Plan Designs, pop silver in, Now you know this plan's going to cover. Now, gold does 4 days at 600 and adds outpatient therapy in there as well for $40, and everything else pretty much stays the same. And again, if you're like, I don't want that, I want something else, change it and save it, and then you quote to everybody. So now you know who will, regardless who you see, I've got a plan for you. Everyone gets the same one. You start to memorize the premiums. You know that a 65-year-old's $30 a month. Let's go back and change it to let's do a 70-year-old, right? So what's that cost? So we got a 70-year-old female non-nicotine. Let's do the silver plan. $34 a month. So a 75-year-old might be probably about $37, $38 a month. So you could tell anyone under age 75 for less than $40 a month, we could get you coverage to offset a bunch of the major copays we just looked at. Pretty slick. So do me a favor. Can you write these with Medicaid? Here's the thing with Medicaid. Medicaid cannot balance bill. So technically, they can buy this if they want to be on Medicaid, but typically Medicaid has no out of pocket. So they would get money back. The other thing too is if they go to the hospital for a long time and get a big check back from us, it could throw off their Medicaid. So just be careful on that. Again, every state's Medicaid is different. They have their own rules and regulations per state. So I would say double check with your state, but sometimes getting that lump sum that's coming back to them can throw off their Medicaid or cause havoc in their Medicaid status, depending on the state they're in. So yeah, exactly what Shamil, I'm sorry if I said that wrong. I'm horrible with names. I numbered my children. I don't know their names, but thank you. My last name is Gatorna. No one gets it right. So I'm same boat. But yes, I would not write it with Medicaid, just so you know. But again, every state is different. So, to each their own. If you want a copy of this, do me a favor, email me because I can't pull the chat history to get those emails, but there's my email address. Again, go to this link that I put in there. In fact, I'll just pull it up, copy, paste. So if you go to that link, you're going to go here. Okay. And our agent guide's in here, our agent highlight sheet. Now, quick note about the highlight sheet. It says 64 to 68, no health questions. That's actually 70. We just changed it October 1st. So be mindful that this is the old one. The new ones haven't been updated yet because it just happened. So it is age 70, and down here, 30-day wait, it's down to 1 day. So those two things are wrong on here. Those are good wrongs because they're better. Everything else is the same. So there's your highlight sheet if you want better detail. All the riders are on here as well. It's like, hey, I'm interested in that therapy rider. How's that work? After a hospitalization or a surgery, they can get therapy paid for or offset at least. Outpatient rider, yada yada yada. So all that's in here. So you can download that off this. The hospital indemnity guide, you could download this. This actually has quoting in here, like, hey, when you're doing the scope of appointment, you talk about this. When you're doing fact finding, here's some verbiage. When you're introducing summary of benefits, here's some additional verbiage. This is free for you, maybe you use it, maybe you don't. Here's some other tidbits on offering plans. So definitely check that out. We do an LBIG live every Monday at 11 Central. So check that out. We talk about sales, marketing, industry updates, not really about product, but we just bloviate for about 30 minutes. But that's all available in that free download right there. Again, no login required. The state availability sheet's right there. So if you're like, where was it again? That's right there. eApp quick reference guide for writing out, if you want to write an application. Again, very, very simple, but that's all that's on there. And then some frequently asked questions. Again, we haven't updated yet. And then they updated that right there. So applicants between 64 and 70. There you go. And then if you want information about other products, you can click on the cancer one. So it links out to our other products as well. There you go. So any questions, comments, concerns, threats, promises you might have, please let me know. Thanks. Kesha. I'm going to slaughter that. Thank you for the endorsement. We always try and have fun on those. I always say the Monday events are like, hey, let's sit down at a coffee shop or a bar, depending on the time of day, and let's just shoot the breeze about the industry. And that's the vibe of that. So there you go. Any questions, comments, concerns, threats, or promises you have, please put in there. Always happy to address. There's my email address again. Thank you for reposting that. Feel free to contact me via email. You could text me also at 816 591 7377. It's the best way to get a hold of me. I'm typically on webinars a lot of days. I also travel, so just keep that in mind. But that's all that. Now, on here too, if you go to training, if you want to watch any of our past webinars, it's on here for LBig Live. We do product webinars. We shut those off during AEP because it's too busy, but there's some stuff in there. So height weight build charts, declinable drug lists, and such. So anything else I can help with, I'll be on for another minute. Happy to help any way I can. Again, text me, shoot me an email, let me know. Happy to send you anything. If you miss something or you're like, hey, I have a question I just thought of, I do that all the time. I'm a person that if I don't ask it right away, it gets lost. So let me know. But again, easiest way to sell this is what I would do if I was in the field. Popular plan design, silver, bam. There you go. And just there you go. So a 70-year-old, $34 a month, and you're good to go. And there'd be no health questions with them, which is nice. So thank you so much for being on today. Hopefully you learned something. I'm gonna go eat lunch because I'm starving. But we try and make it easy for you. And if you have something, suggestion, say, hey, I wish it did this, I wish it did that. Let us know. Like I said, we had an agent complain about the 30-day wait, and he's like, hey, 30-day wait is the reason I don't write your product. We reviewed it and said, you know what, let's bring it down to 1 day. And we did. So we did that. We made that decision last month for a 10-1 effective date. And of course, sometimes we can't do everything you ask, but we'll at least take it to our actuaries and say, hey, put this in a spreadsheet, see what it does, and they'll tell us. So yeah, and consumers under age. I think just so you know, the children, I think it insures up to 6 kids up to age 26. I want to say that's the case. Let me look real quick. There you go. Yeah. Um, Up to 26. So there's no proof of college required. I think some companies require proof of student. But children are covered up to the first month following the ages obtained 26. So there you go. So even if they're living at home past age 18, and they could stay on their parents thing. And again, great for ACA. I will say for ACA, load it up because our premiums are pretty low. So let's do a 50-year-old because I'm 50. So 75. There we go. We're just gonna do that there. As you can see, the hospital indemnity plan is $1.57 like that. So if we do the challenge with ACA is, with Medicare Advantage, we're insuring against $3,000 to max out of pocket. With ACA, we're insuring against $9,000. Huge disparity. So I always say load it up. Let's go all the way to 750. Let's add ambulance, ER. We're going to add outpatient diagnostic and wellness. We're going to add outpatient surgery. So let's do 5 days at 750 because that will give us how much? Good question. 5 times 750. That gives us 3,750. Their deductible is what, 9,000? If they go there by ambulance, it's another 250 they'll get. So, I did that wrong. 750 times 5 is 3,750 plus 250. So if they take an ambulance to the hospital in their 5 days, we're going to give them a check for $4,000. So we just cut that deductible in half. And that's really what you're doing on these plans is you wanting to go ahead and cut the deductible in half is what I told my clients. We can't sure $9,000 is too much. But let's do a family plan real quick. So 75, let's make my spouse that doesn't exist 78, not 78 years old, but born in 78. There we go. So here's a family plan example for you. Let's do 5 days let's do 600. That's pretty good. Or 700 or somewhere in there. But it gets expensive real quick. But again, that's 2 people we're insuring. So we load it up, outpatient surgery, Now we're 40 bucks ahead, but that's also kids. So I did a family plan there. So two spouses and up to I think 5 or 6 kids, I think. So it's not bad considering you're insuring the kids going to the ER and everything else and all that good stuff. So there you go. So again, you can come in here, you can play around, you can print the quotes as well. You can't break the system. Get in here and just monkey with it, and yeah, have fun with it. So there you go. Any other questions, comments, concerns, threats, promises, let me know. Otherwise, I'll give you back the rest of your day. Thank you for having me. And again, if I can be of assistance, my cell phone and my email are in there. Of course, you can talk to the folks at the Alliance. We're happy to help and get you taken care of. If you don't have a contract with us, it's very quick, very easy. It's all done through the ARC, I believe. You still have the ARC that does everything. It's all in there. Get that knocked out. But thank you again for everyone. Greatly appreciate it. Download that guide. Get some, verbiage to talk to your clients about hostile indemnity. I just side note before I sign off. I talk to a lot of agents all day. It's my job. And the agents that are selling hostile indemnity on a regular have like a 50-60% close rate because most people don't want to pay medical bills. Surprise, surprise. So the agents that are offering it every single appointment, they're like, yeah, at least half the people offered to are purchasing it because they're like, yes, I don't want to go to hospital and add, repayment to my recovery agony, right? And that's why I always told my clients, let's focus on recovery, not repayment. Let's just get finances off the table. We're going to take care of you there so you don't have that stress, financial stress added to your medical stress. So there you go. Offering. If they say no, you could go to sleep at night knowing you did everything in your power to help your clients get insurance. And no one's going to be like, how dare you offer me a solution to pay my medical bills? Said nobody ever. So they're going to say no, you move on, and at least you did your due diligence. So there you go. So thank you so much. And until next time, go out there, have fun, make money, and give impeccable service.